Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller,
Right.
the leader of this task force.
Let me just say, Mr. President, that this country was going to die without you. This country was going to actually die without you. That's what we were facing in 2024.
You are like America's Justice Fireman. You're just on call 24/7. So whenever we need you.
Whenever you need me, I'm here for you, Steph.
Oh my God. By the way, our beloved JoJo from Jerz said President Newsom needs to turn Timu Saddam's ballroom into a courtroom in which Trump and every one of his complicit enablers can face justice for all they've done. And I say lead prosecutor Glenn Kirschner in our new Nuremberg trials.
I would prosecute Trump for free.
Yeah. I mean, Glenn, I was thinking about that yesterday. If when hopefully we take back power, where would you even start with impeaching or prosecuting him?
I would open grand juries immediately and start investigating, subpoenaing folks who could provide testimony about the many crimes of Donald Trump and his executive branch officials, because if we don't go on a cleanup mission and hold these folk accountable, then we will be the ones sort of complicit in the destruction of American democracy. It has to be done, win, lose, or draw.
Yeah. This I'm sure you heard Jamie Raskin say his staff's research indicates that this stick up that we're in the middle of, this $230 million, Trump is suing us, the taxpayers, for he said they can probably be made confidentially at first with no immediate public disclosure, though any payments would come out eventually in a later report to Congress. A payment could be made confidentially well before DOJ makes a public disclosure. I think we've all said, of course they're just going to pay this. I mean,
Donald Trump is the one who ultimately will decide whether he should be paid $250 million or not. There is a procedure in place where if you are wronged, if you are injured by the federal government, you can make a claim for damages. And that's usually kind of a precursor to filing suit against the federal government if the federal government refuses to pay. And Steph, the federal government generally refuses to pay because, federal employees and officials don't typically go around injuring the American people, except when you're Donald Trump. So he has no right to this payment. It would be laughed out of court if it ever made its way into court. But he has anointed himself as the country's top law enforcement officer. And what that means is he'll be the one to decide if the Department of Justice owes him nearly $250 million because they investigated and indicted him and tried to prosecute him for the crimes he committed.
Yeah.
We're in a whole new, realm of insanity here in America.
I mean, and I'm looking, Glenn, only one Republican that I can see even said a peep. Senator Thom Tillis ripped Trump on Wednesday over the terrible optics of chasing $230 million of taxpayers' money in his bid to sue the Justice Department. Well, it's more than bad optics. Can he come out and say this is wrong? This is just completely wrong.
It's corruption writ large. But, I guess kids don't need to eat. So he'll cut how many, millions of dollars in SNAP assistance. But he needs another $230 million to do Lord knows what with.
Well, so he said it's terrible optics, particularly right now. We're talking about $250 million transferring maybe to the president when we're in a shutdown posture. Well, yes, but all they care is it looks bad politically. Of course, just say it's wrong. This is wrong. These prosecutions were not, what's the word, malicious or vindictive like the ones he's pursuing at all. They weren't just accusations, as you say. They were, slam dunk cases that would have been won had he not, been elected, correct?
Yeah, the only one that managed to get to trial was the New York business fraud criminal case. And that jury in New York convicted him in a New York minute. And all of these cases, in my opinion, as a career prosecutor, based on the evidence, would have been hands down guilty verdicts. But here we are.
Can I ask a question, too? Because I know you're going to cover the Tish James thing. Why did they throw out the settlement? I mean, this guy has gotten away with so much. So he's convicted on 34 counts. And didn't they throw out the monetary?
So he's convicted on 34 criminal counts, and that stands. That is a solid conviction. He's a convicted felon. In the other case, which is the civil fraud case that Letitia James brought, he was found to have engaged in massive, systemic, years-long business fraud. The only thing that the appeals court did is they said, we think a $500 million fine that was imposed may be too much. Not that he didn't engage in the fraud.
Right.
That has been affirmed. So they're now in the process of figuring out, okay, how much should he have to pay as a result of the massive business fraud he engaged in?
Yeah. So Greg has a question for you. To Steph, to your caller's point yesterday, can James Comey, Letitia James, et cetera, sue the DOJ for $230 million for wrongful prosecution too? I mean,
yes.
These
and
are the people that are
should.
being wrongfully prosecuted.
Well,
right?
and the good news is, I suspect both James and Comey will have the benefit of judicial rulings when these cases get thrown out for vindictive and selective prosecution. That will be Exhibit A in Comey and James telling the Department of Justice, look, I was wrongfully prosecuted. So I was actually damaged by the misconduct of Donald Trump and his administration. That will be in the next administration. And, that's probably going to be the kind of claim that should be successful.
You had some thoughts. You said Trump's unqualified U.S. Attorney Lindsey Halligan. Not only did the presiding judge just rule against the prosecution in the first contested issue, this is in the Comey case, but the DOJ prosecutors may have given Comey and his defense team even more ammunition for their motion to dismiss based on vindictive and selective prosecution. Not to mention that she does not seem to understand what off the record means and when you're supposed to say that. I mean, it's just...
that was breathtaking, that a United States attorney who had just emerged virtually from the grand jury, after obtaining a vindictive indictment, sends a disappearing signal chat message to Anna Bauer, who's a great reporter, by the way, and wants to chat her up about things that she has no ethical business talking about in the James case. I mean, she's just wearing her incompetence as like a badge of merit. And I'm looking for, they had to go all the way to Missouri, Steph, to find a prosecutor who was willing to come down to Norfolk and be part of this vindictive prosecution against Letitia James. Yeah. I mean, again, this is insanity, which eventually will right itself. But in the meantime, James, Comey, and others will have to, suffer the burden of being vindictively prosecuted.
I wanted to talk to you both, Yahweh and Yesh, because I wrote a book, and it's about you guys, but it's really about some of your fans, the mean ones, the racist ones, the homophobe ones, the ones who don't like women. You guys come off really well in the book. Jesus, you come off really good in this book.
Yeah, I've heard that when people talk about the Bible, they tell me that God, you come off really well.
Said no one ever.
Jesus comes off really well. Yeah. No, God, you're very impressive, God. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but you there's some moments, Almighty, where you're kind of the alcoholic stepgod. If you know what I'm saying? But Jesus, he's chill throughout. Like he's proof of evolution.
But John, people have been twisting my message, right? And that's what this book is about.
It really is, Jesus. I mean, I've gone through this book of yours many times. You never said anything against the gays. You never said anything against women having to be forced to be pregnant. I mean, you're not against abortion. You're against the death penalty, Jesus. I know that. You're like your dad in that you tell us to welcome the stranger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the right people are twisting my message left and right, and we can't take it anymore. So we're so excited to have this book, a really rock solid resource to show people what the Bible actually says. And that's why we love you, John. You're spreading our true good word.
Simon & Schuster's Avid Reader Press presents Separation of Church and Hate, the bold, hilarious new book from John Fugelsang.